And push up. Hold it. Lift up your back, Mohammed. Chaos. Chaos.
It's dance class at Para Hills High School in Adelaide's north.
Up, 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 up. It's just fun, and the kids get to work together, and they end up relying on each other.
There's a simple academic philosophy here. You can't have education without well-being and connection. So dance can be as important as literacy or numeracy.
Because the dance can't be successful without each other. Keep moving.
We really want everyone to find their tribe.
Go, 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 partner.
Elevating these students to brighter futures represents the promise of public education. Para Hills High ranks among the most disadvantaged in the country. 85% of students come from the lowest socio-economic brackets.
We try to achieve the absolute best for students who sometimes come a little bit behind the eight ball. Talk to me about something that you learned today.
16-year-old Year 11 student Zara was at risk of losing her transformative opportunity. She only turned up to school 2 or 3 times a week.
Mornings I would wake up and I'd say to my dad, like, I don't want to go to school. I feel sick, but really I just didn't want to get out of bed.
But do look up the ACES study.
Zara is a beneficiary of the school's wellbeing program. She regularly meets with the school's youth worker and wellbeing officer, who are able to organise bulk build therapy with a psychologist. It's helped her come to trust and engage with her teachers, and she dreams of being a criminologist.
I feel great now, like I can actually wake up in a good mood and I'm not as in a way depressed to come to school. Like I actually want to come to school.
Well, that's out of reach for some families too.
Students like Zara have come so far that today the state's Education Minister Blair Boyer is coming to check out the school's wellbeing space.
More of a homey space, so it's somewhere that we can come to when we're in distress or we can't cope with class.
Successful as it is, the school's leaders say meagre budgets mean they can't get similar funding for all the students who need it.
I'm really concerned about the gap between, say, private and public education that seems to be widening. It sometimes feels like our students are missing out.
David Gonski is an eminent Australian.
The much vaunted Gonski reforms released 11 years ago were supposed to ensure private and public schools received the minimum amount of government funding to ensure a good education.
The kids are learning not just how to control them, but how to program them.
This year, public school budgets nationwide are $4.5 billion short of their Gonski minimum.
They're really
In South Australia, the shortfall adds up to about $175 million.
When it comes to
At Para Hills, it means the school's fledgling mental health program is not secure, reliant on outside charities and not available to all the students who need it.
Well, every year that goes by where we don't get to that 100% and we don't see the vision of Gonski realised, it's another generation of kids that goes through our education system that don't have the supports for their learning and their well-being that they could have had.
At public schools, states pay for 80% of costs and the Commonwealth 20%. Billions have flowed to schools, but no state's public schools have hit their Gonski minimum. The funding split is reversed for private schools, with the federal government paying 80% and the states 20%. Almost all of these schools have hit their minimum Gonski funding. About 40% of private schools are overfunded.
I think a lot of people feel that upon the election of the Albanese Labor government that finally the stars had aligned to actually deliver Gonski. If that opportunity slips past, I think people will, not without good reason, assume that the odds of ever having Gonski fully delivered in the Australian public education system have probably come and gone.
The federal government's currently holding a wide-ranging schools review that includes funding. It's due to report in October. The Education Minister, Jason Clare, was unavailable for an interview.
Scott Morrison has...
Labor went to the last election with an aspiration rather than an ironclad promise to deliver the Gonski money. Now there's pressure to make good.
We have a very simple message for Minister Clare and for the Albanese government, and that is it's time. We need to see this investment in our schools.
The Teachers' Union is also calling for greater urgency from government. 7:30 can reveal a Department of Education Senate estimates brief released under Freedom of Information laws discloses 1,152 private schools, about 40% of the sector, are receiving more than their Gonski recommended minimum, at a cost to taxpayers of about $3.2 billion.
We think that if governments can afford to overfund private schools, then they can certainly afford to step up and fully fund public schools.
Independent Schools Australia declined an interview request, but in a statement defended the extra funding due to end in 2029. A transition period is necessary because staff salaries comprise almost 80% of a typical school's budget, so funding cuts to schools need to be implemented gradually. As the review zooms in, private schools are keen to counter old stereotypes that they exist only as elite academies. Today, private students are more likely to attend low or medium fee faith-based schools, like Regent's Park Christian School in Jason Clare's Western Sydney electorate.
Most of our families would come from a different ethnic background, not from Australian background.
Bye, I love you. Love you too. Have a good day.
For mums like Natalia, the schools are popular, with a record amount of parents leaving the public system. 36% of primary and high school students now attend a private school.
I really like that we share the same values and have that freedom to just continue to be ourselves, not feel like we have to worry about anyone becoming offended by our core beliefs.
Even on a tight budget as a single mum, she's happy to pay the $5,000 a year in fees. The school helps her out financially with food boxes and fee relief.
There's been times where I've not been able to pay as much as other times.
Why are you bald? 637?
Why am I bald?
Principal Les Bernard wants public schools to be properly funded, but not at the expense of communities like his.
We feel that parents should have genuine choice and that it's right for the government to support that genuine choice.
And we are smiling, right?
As the government's review continues, visiting schools across Australia, it'll confront many difficult decisions. Foremost, who will pay, if there will ever truly be peace in Australia's school funding wars.